How damning is this report, really, on the calibre of police officers that we have on the street?
Good morning first. The report is really important because it shows that there has been a lax in the vetting procedures. It means that people have been joining the police that should never ever have been allowed in. We've got people who have got convictions for or have come to notice for robberies, for sexual offences, for all sorts of drugs offences as well. Now, what that does is that has an impact on the majority who are good, caring police officers. So it has an impact on them, and it also has an impact on the trust and confidence that the community has with policing. Because in this country, we police by consent. And if you lose that trust and confidence, that's something to be really concerned about. And one of my biggest concerns is that people will be reading these reports, and it's report after report after report, and they will be thinking twice about picking up that phone. And if you've got a person who is in crisis, who thinks, shall I pick up the phone, or am I going to get one of these officers, that doesn't really care about domestic violence, doesn't really care about the fact that I've just been robbed, and that is a real big concern.
I mean, it's not just this report, is it? I mean, we've had a series of issues which have undermined confidence in the police. I've always considered myself to be a massive supporter of the police, but even my support is waning. We had the Manchester Arena bombing inquiry, which came out this week. The Chief Constable, just to remind you, said we had failed to plan effectively, and the execution of that which had been planned was not good enough. Our actions were substantially inadequate and fell short of what the public had every right to expect. We've then got the police going around arresting people for their posts on Twitter. A police officer telling somebody someone's been caused anxiety based on your social media posts, and that is why you're being arrested. We've got police officers sat about watching people stick themselves to the road and do nothing about it. All of this adds up, doesn't it? And people are saying, you know, what on earth is the point of the police anymore?
I did 30 years in policing and I loved it, absolutely loved it, and I would recommend it as a career. I didn't love every single day, but I do feel that we are now turning a corner, because back in May, there was a report that came out from Andy Cook, who's the chief of the HMI, and he put in this report, he's put back to basics. Police officers want to do police work. They want to go out there and they want to arrest the bad guys and they want to put them in prison. They don't want to be standing there ungluing protesters, and they don't want to be doing all these other add-ons. And at the moment, you've got police officers who are filling in for the ambulance service. You've got police officers who are dealing with mental health issues. You've got people, dealing with issues that are not police related. And I think something like 60% of the calls that go to 999 are not police related. So police officers are doing the jobs because other services aren't doing what they're supposed to do because of underfunding, because of whatever crisis they have in their own organisations. So police officers can't do what they're supposed to be doing. And I do have to take my hat off to the majority of police officers who are there for the right reasons. And please, let's make that point that they are there for the right reasons.
And Palm, reading today in the papers, it doesn't make good reading for the police force, whether it's Charles Moore in the Telegraph, the public are suffering in lawless Britain, or whether it's Richard Littlejohn today. And he actually supports the frontline officers. He's not questioning them whatsoever, but he's talking about institutional cowardice, about the rise of health and safety, which has got a stranglehold now over the police forces. They can't do this, they can't do that, they couldn't save a drowning man, they couldn't go in, because of this sort of entrenched health and safety, sort of higher up the managerial rung, and it's stymieing the frontline people. But that's making the public lose confidence in the police.
I agree that frontline officers need to be supported and they need to be able to carry out their jobs. But there have been failures. There have been failures in leadership, and that needs to be addressed now, and it needs to be addressed quickly. Now, the report that came out last week, there are 43 chief constables up and down the country who are going to have to read this report, and they are going to have to respond. This report actually lists the warnings that have been ignored, the many reports that have come before it. So they have to take those into account as well. And we have to have a culture where police officers can call out bad behaviour of their colleagues. They are supported. Vetting needs to be improved vastly, and this report, the recommendations are 43, they need to be taken on board, and that's the only way that you're going to restore any sort of trust and confidence from the community and also from those police officers that are serving well.